Banks are closing accounts en masse, and if you don't know why, you're in for a shock. I've done extensive research into this growing trend, and what I've uncovered might just change how you look at your bank account, and even your relationship with your bank. If you thought you were safe, think again. By the end of this video, I'll explain exactly why banks are making these drastic moves, and more importantly, what you can do about it. Stick around, because I'm going to share some crucial insights that you definitely don't want to miss. So, why are banks closing so many accounts all of a sudden? The first thing you need to understand is that banks are under increasing pressure from government regulations. Over the last few years, there has been a huge push for banks to comply with stricter anti-money laundering (AML) laws and Know Your Customer (KYC) regulations. These laws were put in place to stop illegal activities like money laundering and fraud. But the problem is, they're hitting regular customers like you and me. Here's where it gets serious. If you're not actively using your account, or if your transactions seem suspicious, even if you're doing everything above board, the bank could decide to close your account. They're just protecting themselves from penalties, which have been skyrocketing. And banks are being extra cautious because the fines they face for non-compliance could be catastrophic. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Banks are also becoming more selective about the types of customers they're willing to take on. In recent years, many banks have begun to weed out customers who don't fit into their ideal profile. What does that mean? Well, if your account doesn't generate enough fees, through things like overdraft charges or maintenance fees, they may just cut ties with you. In fact, I personally know a few people who have faced this situation. Let me break it down. Banks operate on profit margins, and the days of banks being happy with just holding onto your money are long gone. They want to make money off of your accounts, and if your account isn't profitable enough, it's more likely to be closed. That's why more and more people are finding that their accounts are suddenly being shut down. It's not personal, it's business. Another reason this is happening is that banks are trying to cut costs. Operating a bank is expensive. With the rise of online banking, branches are becoming more costly to maintain. Some banks are closing accounts to reduce operational overhead, especially if they're dealing with smaller, less active accounts. This makes sense from a business perspective. Why keep an account open if it's not contributing to the bank's bottom line? But I'm going to get into something even more concerning. One of the most controversial reasons banks are closing accounts right now. It all has to do with political pressure. Some banks have been under fire for their connections to certain industries or political affiliations. There's been a lot of talk about deplatforming businesses and individuals who don't align with certain agendas. And let me tell you, banks are not immune to these pressures. They may close accounts if they believe doing so will protect their reputation or avoid scrutiny. Now, I know what you're thinking. What does this mean for me? Well, you're not safe either. If you've noticed any unusual account activity or received any vague communication from your bank, it's time to be proactive. Banks are becoming increasingly cautious, and they may just pull the plug on accounts that don't fit into their new risk profiles. Before I wrap up, let me tell you one last thing that could save you a major headache in the future. I've been doing a deep dive into the banks that are most likely to close accounts, and I've uncovered a pattern. There are certain banks that are far more likely to cut ties with customers. If you're banking with one of these, you might want to reconsider or at least keep a close eye on your account. I'll be revealing more on this soon, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. So what can you do about this? Well, for starters, make sure you're being transparent with your bank. Keep all your transactions clear and don't give them any reason to raise an eyebrow. And it might be a good idea to have a backup plan. Set up accounts with multiple banks and spread out your risk. But most importantly, stay informed and know what's going on in the financial world around you. If you got value from this video and you want to support more content like this, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to stay updated on what's going on in the financial world, because these changes are just the beginning.